All right. So today we're going to continue working on the buildings in the front, and we are going to use first for this part and this part, we're going to use Payne's Gray, a little bit of Ultramarine Violet, touch of white. So, and these are the brushes. I'm using a small round, medium round, and a medium flat or bright. Yeah, let's start with them. Payne's Gray. I'm going to put a little bit of purple in it. Ultramarine Violet. White. Touch of white, very small amount, because we want this Payne's Gray to be dark. Actually, we can start, if you want, with just Payne's Gray and Ultramarine Violet. No need to put the white, if you want. But this, if it's easier. Okay, let's do this. Then we will highlight. There's a little bit of detail here, which is like the windows. Usually I simplify, and I'm trying here to simplify them as well. But this is a very nice detail. If we can put it, that would be great. Okay. I'm still working with the flat or bright. Okay. Nice. The stronger the color, the nicer it looks when we can come close. Oh. Okay. All right. All right, one more. I'm switching to round brush. Medium size. All right, let's put those windows on, or openings. One big in the center, and it doesn't really, you don't have to if you don't want to do this. And smaller ones on the side. Switching to a smaller brush. Okay. We're good for now. I'm just going to let it kind of dry a bit. All right, I'm going to pause a bit and then we'll come back. Okay, so for highlighting, I'm adding a bit of raw umber with the Payne's gray and white, because once we add white, then we can see the color. And this Payne's gray by itself or mixed with ultramarine violet might look a little bit too blue, purple with white. So I'm adding a tiny bit of raw umber in here. So when I add white, it looks a little bit more grayish, gray earth tone, which is exactly what we want. All right, let's see. So I'm going to highlight the dome. Not the whole thing. This is where the dome starts. And usually you will get more light upper part. Also, and I will add more highlights once it's dry if I need to. I'm using the color of the building, or the original color that I have here, Payne's Gray, for the darks, for the darker parts, shadows, details. Let's switch to a round brush. Right, there's a nice highlight right here. Tiny bit more highlight in here, upper part, just to give it some shape, and upper part of this part here. Okay, good. Right, I'm going to stop for now and then we'll come back. All right, now let's work on the one next to it. It's going to be same colors, Payne's Gray, raw umber, and white. Oh, too much white. Okay, let's go here. Let's come to this side. First layer shouldn't be light, too light. I'm going to need this white after. My Payne's Gray is really dry. Okay. All right. This should be okay. Just fill this part, let it dry, and then we will highlight it. I guess there's a rooftop right here, which is good because it cuts this long line of the rooftop that's in front. I need to put dark Payne's gray. Okay. Now I can start highlighting. I'm going to take some of this Payne's gray I have here, push it into this white mixture, and a little bit of raw umber. Just a little bit, just to see, to break that bluish, strong blue, and make it more earthy. Okay, and now I'm going to try to, okay, I can't see it, so I'm going to put more white. Yeah, it's more like a grayish blue.
So you're putting more of the umber than the Payne's gray this time?
No, I just put a little bit of umber to break that bluish Payne's gray, and then I put white, just enough for me to see it, to see the white. It doesn't have to be too light. And also on this side. And on this side. Once we start putting highlights, I mean a bit of detail, it will look okay. The thing is just to make sure that it looks, that some lines are kind of disappear. They're not too much. There's not too many. There will be here some foggy stuff, so we're good. Because I don't like these long lines that I'm seeing here, but we're going to be covering this, most of them, with the fog or the smoke. Now I'm going to go back with a small brush and to add some detail on top. These, I find those little kind of finials detail on top are a bit hard to get. They're very, not detailed, I would say fine details. Very hard to get to paint. And then, okay, I'll have a long narrow line. Okay. All right, good. A little bit of darker detail here. Just here, right next to the highlighted one. And there's a window down here, but I mean, just like that, but it's not really important. The only reason we'll put it just to break a bit this surface that looks flat. All right, that's good. All right, should be okay. I'm gonna pause. All right, so now let's do this. This is for this part. It's Payne's gray, a little bit of raw umber, and white.
Pretty well the same colors we just did.
Yeah, a little bit lighter. Yes, just a tiny bit lighter. Okay, I'm going to add a tiny bit of white, do another layer. Because it dries darker, the paint is drying darker, so I can now adjust the value. Okay, now just Payne's gray, raw umber, just raw umber. I didn't even clean my brush, so I don't need to clean my brush. I'm just going to put a bunch of dark shapes in here. I guess they represent chimney. And in a minute, I will be softening all this. This is just the first layer. Also, while I'm doing this, I'm going to put a layer right here of the same burnt umber. And just kind of paint the bottom part with just only raw umber for now. We will work on giving it some interesting shapes, so it's not flat. Same raw umber. I'm going to take a little bit of white, add it to the raw umber. At this point, I'm going to wipe my brush and give this part here some shape. And also soften any harsh edge connecting the chimney part to the rooftop. Same idea, raw umber with white. And I'm going to come down here We will work on this probably next week, this part, giving it a bit of more shape. Now, before we leave or finish, I'm going to take raw umber, a little bit of white in it, and try to give this rooftop a bit of a detail. Doesn't have to be perfect, of course. But it will also, this detail will camouflage the strong chimney. The way it's sitting there, it will make it softer. Now, after I'm done, if I find that when it's dry completely, if I find that it's too harsh, I can just glaze it. Soften the edge a bit. Okay. I guess there are other parts right here where there's another kind of rooftop. So we can do this. We can add this rooftop going with the same raw umber white, touch of blue, or I'm sorry, not blue, Payne's gray, just to change the color. So we're not using exactly the same raw umber everywhere. And then we go over this and then give it a bit of a movement. Doesn't have to look like anything, just a bunch of colors. So we don't end up with same, just brown everywhere. We're going to put down here, what we're going to do is we're going to put, of course, some smoke or foggy kind of pattern in here, or texture. So most of these things we're not going to see. All right, one more. Raw umber. some white in here and the raw umber. And just for change, if you have any ultramarine violet left over, if you don't have, don't worry about it, no need to put it. I'm just taking ultramarine violet with white and raw umber. So the raw umber has, this raw umber has a bit of ultramarine violet, and I'm just going to add it here. Then next week we would spend time on refining it and adding the fog part. All right. Whatever you have left over, paint, just add it there. So this is a big area here that's kind of empty right there. Just going to take a little bit of white, ultramarine violet, some leftover, whatever I have left over of color lying around, some Payne's gray. And a little bit of raw umber. Let's add a bit of tiny bit of white, so it's not harsh. It's not too harsh. And with the corner of my brush, I'm going to add a line down here that looks like the rooftop is casting a shadow over the wall. In the reference, I can hardly see what's happening in there, and I am not too concerned because, like I mentioned, that we will be putting some fog in here. I'm just blocking, putting some shapes in here. soften any kind of harsh lines in here if you find that it's too strong, too too dark. Okay, let's leave it at that, and then next week we'll add some. We will soften all these things, all these lines, by adding some smoke and fog. And it's good for today. For this week, it's enough. There we go. Next week we'll refine all of these lines, the lines and the blocking and everything. All right, so we're done for this week. Next week we will refine this part, and we will add some fog or smoke in the background and add some stronger colors in there for the fog. So maybe more yellows, gold, and yeah, and it'll be done.